Welcome to another episode of the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast, your weekly dose of news and advice that comes to your pocket every single Saturday. Holding it down, here we got Mac, Mark, Scott, and Landon. Enjoy today's show.
Welcome into another episode of the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. Today we're going to hit you with the first in our series of rookie wide receivers, and we're going to come out with he who is the hottest prospect of them all, CeeDee Lamb, who is now a wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. This rookie out of Oklahoma shook people as he showed off his skill set at the Combine this year. He showed up with some blazing yards after catch ability. He can make end zone catches. He can jump. He can run. His feet are fantastic. His hands are fantastic. He came out with an excellent 3 consecutive years at Oklahoma, and we're really expecting quite a bit from him on an offense that has proved to make some very relevant wide receivers. So today we're going to start by kicking it to Lando, who's going to give us the rundown on this big prospect.
Thanks, Marky. Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite rookie wide receivers. He was actually my top-rated rookie wide receiver coming out, and people and reactions are mixed right now with the landing spot with the Dallas Cowboys. We obviously had Amari Cooper that's getting paid $100 million. We have Michael Gallup that actually showed to be almost the more consistent wide receiver last year for Dallas. And we have Dak Prescott, who actually had a ton of attempts this past year, proved to be a top-end quarterback. So I think for me, that's why this landing spot is absolutely perfect and great for CD. The Dallas Cowboys can get out of Amari's contract in 2 years with very little dead cap. So these next 2 years is going to be the most important 2 years of his career, and if he's going to make those big dollars that he could make in Dallas. I'm excited to see where really he goes and produces year one. Scotty, when you saw this landing spot, what did you think? Give me your thoughts when you were watching the draft with us.
This was one of my favorite picks of the draft, actually, because when I heard that Jerry Jones was literally going to be drafting essentially by himself, and when you actually watch the draft, literally, he was there drafting essentially by himself, making the call. The closer we got to Dallas's pick and Lamb was on the board, I started to say, if Jerry Jones is the one making the pick, there is no way he doesn't become a Dallas Cowboy. It has nothing to do with like the many glaring holes on a team that, despite being in possibly the softest division, I'd say in the NFL last season, they weren't able to do just anything. Jerry Jones knows how to sell tickets, and he knows how to grab the most spectacular elite talent when it's available. And that's exactly what you've got with CeeDee Lamb. Now, as far as the landing spot, long-term, it's a great landing spot, I think. You get to learn from Amari Cooper, who is just an unbelievable talent. You have Michael Gallup there, another talented guy. But I'll say, Jerry Jones picked this horse in the race, and I think he's now his new favorite. Like you said, 2 years is about what Amari Cooper is really guaranteed in my mind, and Michael Gallup is really not guaranteed much at all. I wouldn't be overly surprised if come the start of the 2020 season, Michael Gallup might not even be there. There's a lot that can happen between now and then. And with this type of elite talent, I could see him becoming the number 2 very quickly in Dallas. And the way Dak was throwing the ball last year, I think this can actually be a great landing spot. That might not be a popular opinion, but things change really quickly. And he's going to become the cheap option compared to Amari Cooper very, very quickly. Mark, what's your take?
Spicy. So, well, when you look at this team who is now being coached by Mike McCarthy, word has it that he's supposed to be ushering in a less run-heavy offense, which when you have Ezekiel Elliott on your team, some people might wonder what you're thinking. But we know that McCarthy has a history with very pass-heavy teams. He is an excellent quarterback manager and obviously knows how to pick apart pass defenses. So if that were to be the case, then that instantly soars CeeDee Lamb's value. But he's also the type of player that he's going to have to get the ball in his hands first and then kind of rely on himself to get those yards and ultimately fantasy points, because we know that Lamb is electric once he gets the ball. He is amazing after the catch. He is he's just a playmaker, plain and simple. It's his foot speed and it's his quickness and vision downfield that's really going to make or break this rookie season. So when I think about CeeDee Lamb this year, I'm thinking he falls into the pretty high reception. I'm thinking maybe somewhere around 80 receptions this year. That's very high, but I do think he's going to get the most receptions of any rookie wide receiver. I think he'll get you in the end zone probably 6 or 7 times. And I'm thinking about 850 yards from this young guy. Those are my takes, but Landon, let me know if you got something else for me.
And Mark, I don't blame you why you're excited about CeeDee, and I think he's going to get drafted fairly highly in your rookie drafts. I think he's going to get overdrafted. Back in Texas, CeeDee was an absolute legend coming out of high school. There was a tweet going back to his high school year where he claimed and proclaimed on Twitter that he was going to finish his senior year with over 1,200 yards and 15 touchdowns. That's pretty high for a high school player. I mean, if anyone listening's ever played high school, most of the time you ran the ball. Like, let's be honest. This guy finished with over 2,000 yards and 33 touchdowns. This guy's been a legend for a long, long time. And the hype around him is real. But I think he's going to get overdrafted. Last year, Amari Cooper averaged about 25% of the team's targets. Gallup with 26%. I think there's just not that many balls to go around. I think they might go into more of a running attack. Zeke Elliott might get more receptions than he did last year. It's going to be tough with some really difficult competition there for CeeDee Lamb. I think it's more of a long-term play. If you're willing to take CeeDee Lamb in your redraft leagues, get ready for some inconsistent play out of him. But for Dynasty, hey, he's a top-end pick, and I don't blame you whatsoever if you want to get that Dynasty asset on your team.
Yeah, so I'm going to go on with one other point that I wanted to make, and that is just in regards to the greater good of the Dallas Cowboys. I think he is a very great asset. He's going to be clutch, and he'll be a playmaker for them, but I don't think he's the type of player that's going to whittle himself a starting spot on your roster right away. That's going to take some time. He may have the ability to win games for the Cowboys, but I don't see it as an immediate game winner for your fantasy roster. If you draft him, which I wouldn't blame you if you did have him as your first receiver, depending on your need. But yeah, I think ultimately it is going to take a little bit of time for this guy to learn from his receivers and to really start making an impact in the fantasy world. Any closing thoughts?
That's it. I'm excited to talk about our next wide receiver off the board. It's going to be Henry Ruggs, who was drafted actually before CeeDee Lamb in the 12th pick in this year's NFL draft.
All right, so thanks a lot for watching this episode of The Snap. We are going to be coming at you with more rookie wide receiver takes. We'll have running backs coming up in the near future, but keep dropping in for more fantasy football content on our YouTube channel. Find us on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us comments, leave us reviews, hit that subscribe button, and find us on social at snap_fantasy. Bye-bye.